It is Plan C Podcast, and we are coming at you today. We're a little bit later, but 1 year anniversary of Plan C. Woohoo!
Yay!
Truly great. It was a great year. Over thousands of listens, over 1,000 listens just between all of our platforms. Couldn't have done it without you, Cameron. How you doing today?
I am pretty good. I'm just vibing. Got some work done. Ready to have this conversation. How about you, bro?
I'm doing well. I worked on a little bit of a script for the Spider-Man review. I didn't get to record anything today, but that's almost done in terms of the script, and then I'll record, and then I'll add some lovely video, and then boom, it'll be done. It'll be great. But beyond that, I'm doing well. And yeah, I'm just hanging out here. Today on the podcast, we, as you can tell by the title, are doing a sort of career talk with friends of Plan C, Julian and Jadel. They will be on post intro, but we're sort of going to get into the sort of art versus business, business within art, and art business, stuff like that, if that makes sense.
All that.
Yeah, want to shout out some loyal followers of the podcast and come to many streams. Shout out Waterboy, shout out Diana, shout out Jadel, shout out Julian. I know they're here, but still want to shout them out. Shout out Tomas, shout out Sanish, shout out Big Oof, shout out Eli,
shout out Radia, shout out
Radia. Word. You got anybody else?
Nope.
All right.
I'm bad at names anyways, though. So
before we get going, we're just going to do some lovely self-promotion. If you're not already following us on Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that, just do us a favor, look us up, Plan C Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at plan_C_podcast or _pod. We are pretty active on those. That's where you find out when we're doing all the things. Check out our streams. We stream every Friday, and we save all our streams. They're in a lovely folder on our YouTube page. You can also join our Discord there, where we also send pictures of our cats, and we talk about video games, and we talk about politics, maybe once. Anyway. All right. We ready to get into this, Cam?
Yeah. Let's get into this.
All right. Take me there. Let's go. And we are back. Cameron, would you like to get us going?
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. So today we have nice podcast, as we said, with Julian Jadel, talking about the art world and the business world, considering we are all actually friends from high school. So we've gone through a lot of life together, and we've also chosen sometimes similar, sometimes different career paths. So this pod might be useful for some people that are interested in going either way, or might just want a different perspective on what's going on. So it should be a fun time. It's going to be pretty relaxed. We'll have some questions here and there, but it'll also be somewhat freeform. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. So without further ado, we should get into some introductions. So, Julian.
Hello.
Introduce yourself to the pod.
All right. My name is Julian. I'm a fine artist and illustrator. So I kind of went with the more creative, like the visual arts path, career-wise. Mm-hmm.
Dope. And we also have a previous podcast with Julian interviewing him. So if you guys want a more in-depth view of his world, refer back to our previous pods, and I hope you guys will enjoy that. Now, also, we have Jadil.
JJ.
Yo, allowing me to reintroduce myself. My name is Jadel. I'm the complete opposite of Julian, the 22-year-old business dude. Yeah, so I'm just here to talk about the business side.
This is dope. All right, so though people of the pod may know Julian from other stuff and as well as our previous interviews, this is the first time we're having Jadel here on the pod, which is super exciting. So, Jadel, do you mind giving us like a background on your education, just so people know what you're studying, what point you're coming from?
Yeah. So I went to high school with these dudes, except Colin. From that, I went to Brooklyn College and then transferred out to go to Stony Brook, and then I graduated with a bachelor's in business management with a minor in English. And at the moment, I'm currently doing marketing and advertising. So I guess we're going to learn how that works by not going to a non-accredited business school.
Interesting. That's actually a very interesting perspective. So actually, continuing with that, Jadel, what have been your experiences as a businessman, and like what have been the difficulties and what have been the things that you've learned, I suppose?
Well, going to Stony Brook, which, as I said before, is a non-accredited business school. It was, I would say, more challenging to get your opportunities than it would be if I went to like the Wharton School at UPenn or something. And that's only because, like, for example, people like Google, they fight for students with that, like, that go to the Wharton School of Business at UPenn. But like when it comes to Stony Brook, like no one is going to a STEM school, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Which that's exactly what Stony Brook was. Like our business school was bad. So my experience was that I had to put the most work that I had to put in order to get like any internship or any job post graduation or while in school. So if you like to go in depth, like that just included just like making an Excel sheet or like a sheet of jobs you've applying to a lot of places, some in the city, some out of the city. Luckily, I was able to get an internship in the city, which is where I'm working full time now doing marketing and advertising.
That's dope.
Nice.
Would you say there are any benefits from going to like a non-accredited business school, or anything that you learned from doing so?
Benefits, yeah. I think the long term benefit, I guess, like it just taught me that I had to work harder than than if I did go to an accredited business school. Because like I said before, like going to a STEM school, like that's what people want from Stony Brook. Like people don't want business majors. So I guess like the work that I had to put in just like taught me that it's not always easy, and like it won't like it's not always easy like as it would be for some other people. So I definitely had to put in twice the amount of work at the end.
For sure. I mean, that's really important to like crafting your work ethic when you're actually in the field.
Yeah.
But also, Julian, if you have any questions or you want to add into anything, please feel free to interject. This is going to be a free form thing.
Yeah, we're kind of just vibing, podcasting, conversating, exchange of information.
If you hear anything that's interesting or like anything that you can relate to, please feel free to jump in. We want this to be mostly y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one thing that I sort of was thinking about was there's an interesting sort of, two sides of the same coin type thing with both your careers where, Jadel is sort of like, hire me because, I can do this, but, you're sort of like, hire me one time so I could, I don't know, that sort of dynamic of Julian, you're never there's not a job that's necessarily going to last you for 20 years, right? Unless you're painting houses. So just sort of speak on that and how it affects your work in terms of, oh, I need to be looking towards the future or what,
Yeah, it kind of I would say the pro is flexibility in the sense that you have so many different options when you're not like stuck to one person's contract for the entirety of your career. But I would say the con is that, the constant like, okay, this will be good for a while, but like what's next is a constant like what's next, you know what I mean? So, I mean, and it keeps you hustling. It does keep you hustling, but it can also it's a double-edged sword, you know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. But it's cool. It's definitely a different experience than like what I expected, because even within art, there are some times where people will do something like graphic design, and like you can work as a designer at a company and be a salaried worker. But when you're doing illustration, like I'm sure that's also possible because I know places have in-house illustrators, but what we learned in school was only how to freelance. Like, I don't know if that was your experience too, Cameron, but like for my major, it was like, we're going to teach you how to freelance.
Oh, for sure. And like, honestly, like we didn't really get that much information on how to do so. Like they just kind of told us, this is how it's going to be. We didn't really get entirely like the skills necessary to like put ourselves out there per se, but it did seem like this was going to be like the option. Like there weren't any like clear avenues to any like established companies that people with our skill set could go into. So I would say we were also definitely like I'm a cartooning major, by the way. And so we were definitely pushed into the direction of freelancing. One question that I was kind of interested in is like, Julian, as an artist, how do you see the business path from your perspective? Is that something that you were kind of, that you didn't want to deal with, or is that something that you're actually kind of interested in? Like, what is there a reason why you chose the creative path in terms of its contrast to the business path?
I think, well, I've never had a job that was in business, so to speak. Like I've worked, I've had like a lot of part-time jobs, like day jobs, but not really where I had any control over the company's financial situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's, for me personally, I just felt like being an artist just suited my personality type better than anything else I'd ever done before. But I didn't actively avoid, like I wouldn't actively avoid being involved in business. It's just something that I saw art as an option, probably because like, and this goes into outside influences, but I grew up like with a lot of artistic people around me. So it just kind of seemed like more natural for me to lean into that.
That makes sense. That's dope. Also, I want to switch that question up to Jadel. And I was wondering, Jadel, I know that you're really into fashion and you have all these creative outlets that we will definitely be getting into in this interview.
He's an influencer.
Man is an influencer, bro. I was wondering, like, what is your view of the creative industry from your perspective as a business major?
So like my view as like looking at other artists, like if I were to look at people like you guys.
Yeah.
I think it's really influential. I think undoubtedly like surrounding myself with two different artists who do like two different types of art, I would say definitely does influence my fashion, and especially like the colors that I wear, which you guys probably don't know or don't even realize that like I really do enjoy looking at both of yours, like your colors a lot and like each piece that you produce. So I think being like directly like having a direct relationship with two artists is just influential at the end of the day.
Thank you. That's actually really interesting because like from my perspective as an artist, like seeing your fashion also very much inspires some of the art that I do. So it's interesting that like I didn't really think that it's actually kind of like a symbiosis of things, which does make me realize that there needs to be kind of like a balance between like the creative mindset and the business mindset in terms of like output and inspiration. I think there's like kind of a lot that we can definitely learn from each other.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like when people think business, they think like dudes in tuxedos, like dudes in tight suits and blue collars and white collars and like plain block ties and whatnot. But more than that, like they're like you're
That's a
able to
classic
dress.
look, man.
Yeah, exactly right. Like it's just like the stereotypical like businessman or whatever. But like I told myself I would never like go to a job that like has like such strict rules and guidelines to to a dress code. And I don't want like anyone to think that like just because like you work in business like doesn't mean you still can't express yourself. Because I feel like at the end of the day, um, I'm still able to express myself, and I feel like other people should be able to too.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting that you say that because when you first asked me the question, I didn't quite have the words for it, but I think that's how I thought of it. I was like, damn, like if I were to move up in this company that I'm currently working at, I wouldn't be able to have that outlet. You know what I mean? Because just the way those companies presented themselves. So that's a really important value to have.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Also, speaking of learning from each other's businesses, I was wondering like Julian obviously went to art school, so we were kind of like entrenched in the art world and like art people. You know what I mean? Like yeah, we both know they're like the art niggas. Like we know, like it's an archetype of person, and we
Oh, for sure, for
But I
sure.
was I was wondering like if there is anything that you think you learned from having friends that were outside of like the artistic community.
Good question.
It's really important. Actually, I think surrounding yourself with any one type of person is probably a bad thing because you just lack perspective on so many things. So when it comes to art specifically, like a lot of people, I think most people are either inclined towards art or inclined towards business, and it's very rare to be inclined towards both, I think. So me personally, like I'm not a natural business person, but like there are certain things and conversations that I'll have with people where I'm like, shit, like I never even considered that. And I'm not. It's hard. It's hard for me to think of because I know that art is what I want to make my livelihood, right? So it's hard for me to think. I don't really think of it as a product when I'm making it.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it's important to have somebody be like, okay, I see what you're doing, and this is how you can translate it, because that takes a completely different way of thinking to do. So I think it's really, really important, just in terms of like, if you're gonna make something a career, like you have to consider it from all angles. So
No, that's very true. Like I think like a lot of people might not necessarily realize that when you're entering like the creative path, like compared to like in a business job where you're kind of you have one role. If you're an artist, you're actually also like a businessman that's taking the photos, that's the marketing person, that like you're doing literally everything that a company would do except for your own art. And I think that especially for me, sometimes like the wires get crossed in terms of the creative process and like, oh, how am I going to market this? And there can be sometimes issues when navigating how much I should be focusing on one rather than the other.
and I think artists get uncomfortable about those conversations too.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas
For
business
sure.
people, like they have those conversations all the time, probably.
Yeah, it's like you never hear about like artists actually talking about like the money they're making or like anything like that or any struggles they're going through business wise. It's usually like very much behind the veil that they're kind of putting out there. I think which is I'm not sure if it's for better or worse because I think these are things that we all kind of struggle with, but that's why we have these podcasts, so we can talk about that shit, and everyone knows that there are other people struggling with the same shit. But on in the same vein, I think one of the reasons we might have that kind of trouble is definitely because of our schooling, like how our schooling is focused. So I want to kind of switch the conversation back to Jadel, and I was wondering, what was like your experience at your school? Like, what do you think that they taught you that you might not have learned if you had gone down that path?
Honestly, I technical skills. Well, like knowledge wise, I would say that Brooklyn College taught me more than Stony Brook. I think what Stony Brook taught me was like just a faster way to get things done. And yeah, because like at the end of the day, like as a business major, like all the homeworks were just like not not cutthroat, but they were just like there was a lot of them. So then like it just taught me how to like maximize my efficiency as best as possible. So then like my friends and I would like share a check account, and then we just all get the homeworks done together. Um, Whereas in Brooklyn College, like I definitely felt like I was learning a lot more in regards to like the science around business and how like and how things work. But going to such a big university with again an unaccredited business school, it just taught me like that part just taught me how to just maximize my efficiency by like getting the but still getting the best grade possible.
That's fascinating, actually. That like Brooklyn College would actually teach you more about business than the school you went to afterwards.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it's very interesting to me.
It's interesting that, you know, as you went along, the process got easier, so to speak. I think that just sort of speaks to your wow, I can't speak. Speaks to your adaptability.
Thank you.
Shout out
But
Steve.
yeah, that's definitely how I felt at the end because like I wanted to like half of the reason why I transferred was because like I wanted to go to university, and the other half was like it's because Brooklyn College was like definitely too close to home, so that's why I just wanted to leave. But within that, I think I realized the difference between the two business schools.
Yeah, that's definitely like an invaluable experience. I was actually also wondering, like, do you have any advice that you would give to people that are kind of following a similar career path or thinking about doing so?
Oh yeah. Don't be afraid. Like don't be afraid to do anything. Like don't be afraid to like hound your professor with questions. Don't be afraid to email your professor. If you think that no one is gonna send in an application so you won't send it, send that application in. Because you might never know. Like at the end of the day, like I always tell myself, you can get like a bunch of no's, but like that one yes is definitely what matters. Like junior year when I was applying to internships, I probably applied to like 50, 60 internships. And then at the end, just like I got that one yes, and that's honestly, that's what like mattered at the end of the day. So if you think that like you're putting too much time and effort and nothing is happening, don't stop. Just keep going. But also like maintain your sanity because I don't think any job is worth your mental health.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Also, in the same vein, do you have any advice to people that are in the creative industry that you don't think they might have learned in their schooling?
Is that for me or Julian?
That's for you, Jadel. Do you like because we don't have the same knowledge as you guys have. Like I think like in terms of even like applying to like 60 internships. I think when I was in art school, like there were some internships that they kind of told you about, but most of it you kind of had to look on your own, and they were a lot of the time unpaid. A lot of the time, like there just really weren't that many, and they're for specific industries like design industries. So we didn't really have that kind of like like that continuous trying and applying widespread. and kind of like really hardening our skin through like getting rejected sometimes or not. Like it's a lot of the time, a lot of art is like very internal and you're just kind of working on your craft. So I was wondering, like from a business perspective, is there any advice that you could give to artists that are also, obviously we have to market ourselves. So do you think there's any advice you give to artists that are trying to advance on that front?
Yeah, I think the best thing that's like, especially from watching you guys, being Cameron, Julian, and Roddy, I think like the biggest and best possible thing that you can do, you probably know what I'm going to say, is like it's just network. Like I know it's really really hard right now to network in a panoramic, but like honestly, the most that you can do is just
not
like
in a panty.
In a panty, for real. The most that you can do is network, because like you never know who the hell that you're gonna meet and like how the hell they can benefit you at the end of the day. So yeah, I think definitely from watching you guys, that's probably the one thing that I can say. And like one thing to never forget is, this is my life mantra, is to like be nice to those going up, because you'll never know who you meet going down, which just means just like try to form a good relationship and connection with anybody and everybody that you can on your way up, because like if at the end of the day all else fails, you'll still have those people to connect with.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a strong mantra. I'm gonna write that down. Listeners should also probably write that down. That's
I'm taking notes.
I'm taking notes on my own pod. It's crazy.
Hey, that's what it's all about. It's just all about learning and adapting. And Jadel's right. Like, because you could meet somebody who just takes an absolute shine to you, and you have no idea. And then one day, you know, they get a new job, and like you reach out, you congratulate them for that job, and they're like, "Hey, come work for me." And you're like, "What?"
Exactly.
You know, shit like
like
that.
Who knew? Like one day, like Knives Meow had 1,000 followers, but like the next day she was doing a collaboration with Skull Candy. Like if you fucked up that,
and who else? And who else?
Rina Sawayama and Rico Nasty. You feel me? Drop a bomb.
Rico.
You got bombs on this? You got to edit it in after.
Like Queen Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, if only we had the bombs like Bug, bro.
Oh my god. Yeah, we need those gunshots.
For real.
Facts.
But actually I'll add a question for my co-host Colin.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Has worked in the service industry probably more than anyone else I know. And I was wondering if, from what you learned in the service industry, is there any advice that you could give to people that they might not have learned in the business or creative side of things?
Ooh. Man, I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's just going to come back to literally who you know. Because if you know somebody at an establishment, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a Fortune 500 company, it is instantly so much easier to get a job there. Or just to work with said establishment. And I think that making sure you maintain connections is very important, because you know somebody could have a solution to your problem that you're not, you know, that you don't even know exists. And I think that just also knowing what a good boss looks like is really important, because
definitely
I know people personally who, you know, they've only had shitty bosses, so their expectation is set that it's sort of just how it is. And it's like, no, these people are actually just psychopaths. You know, it's you know, you deserve better. I think that's a problem that a lot of people have. And something else that people don't do is just recognize themselves for working hard. And you know, I have so many friends, both whether it's in art, in school, in regular work, and it's always work, and I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing enough. It's like, maybe just take, and I'm not asking you to quit your job. I'm not asking you to take entire days off, but just maybe take 10 minutes and be like, hey, I'm not going to just grind my head into oblivion with this assignment. I'm going to take 10 minutes, breathe, maybe get some water, watch a YouTube video, then get back to it, because burnout is so real.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sure y'all know, it's such a real thing, and I think it's a real problem.
I agree. I think that people definitely don't take enough breaks. I life is definitely too short for you to be pulling all-nighters for something that's due next week.
That you're getting paid next to minimum wage for.
Exactly. Life is definitely too short for I don't know. Like I said before, no money is worth your mental health at all.
And physical health.
I actually have a friend who I recently introduced to Cameron. His name is Alfred Dudley, so I'm gonna make sure he listens to this.
What up, Alfred?
Shout outs at Art Maps.
Hey, shout out Alfred.
Oh, I followed Art Maps. He liked a bunch of my photos. Thanks for liking my photos, Art Maps.
Yeah, he does this thing where I came to him in a moment of burnout, and he was telling me basically if you compare your role in life or your career goals to an RPG, he was like, hey, maybe maybe the move right now isn't to go and get a whole bunch of gold, right? Maybe it's to sit here and just grind experience so you can level up. You know what I mean? So attack every situation differently. You know what I mean? You don't have to keep running yourself into a wall until you burn out, but maybe reevaluate what your individual strengths are before you keep doing something that's not sustainable,
Yeah, work smarter, not harder type of vibe.
Basically, yeah. It was a really crazy analogy about it just kind of reminded me of Final Fantasy, but it made sense because video games put things into simple terms,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think, just on the topic of burnout, just as a sort of side question, obviously you two could both go back to school to further your education in your individual fields, whether, Julian, it's you going back and getting your master's in illustration, or Jadel, you going and getting your MBA. Is that stuff that you think about consistently, and does that affect your future, do you think?
I think for illustration specifically, nobody really gets a master's, which is funny because I ended up later on in school getting involved with more people who were on the fine arts side of creating things and representing themselves in galleries and whatnot. And there, you're almost expected to have a master's, so it's really funny to see.
Really?
Yeah, it's really it changes the way that people look at you in the field. I'm not sure quite why that is, but I haven't really thought about masters because of money. I just want to make sure that I can pay off my original school right now, but I do think residencies are a good idea. But I don't think, like I said, at the end of the day, what I have learned from illustration, more so than fine art actually, is that as long as you're staying consistent, people should respect that. It's more about, in art, it becomes more about it's more of a meritocracy in that sense, that you don't really need to even have a degree to be respected as long as you're consistently putting out quality work,
I got you.
For sure.
Jadel, because no offense, Julian, that question was a little more pointed at Jadel, but hey, you gave a great answer, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was also right, because he said that a lot of people respect you more when you have that master's, which I guess the same also goes for business. Well, to answer the first part of your question, I have thought about it, but not now. Somewhere down the line, I'll go back to school to do my master's.
Get the EMBA?
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I hate the fact that when people see you have a master's, they for some reason that think you're like this well-acquired person. Well, you could have been just like someone else who just checked your way through 2 years of masters, but wrote a bomb ass thesis, and
Oh,
it's
not on the podcast.
and like,
Unbelievable.
dude, like I just feel like it's not required. Like it's not like I don't see. Part of me doesn't see the point of it, but like part of me is also like, good for you. I'm glad you furthered your education because like I was someone that really, really loved school. Like I love school since God knows when.
Nerd.
Yeah, low key. And I don't know, like sometimes like I hate the way I just hate the way people see masters.
No, I think I definitely have to agree with you on that. And kind of like, it's kind of how people view higher education, like in general. Like, I don't know why we've gotten to this place where it feels like if you, it's no longer like an accomplishment. It's more like if you don't have it, then you get kind of like looked down on by your industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like, it's kind of fucked, especially when you're in masters, you're not necessarily like learning more, and it doesn't actually make you better at anything if you have one or not, I guess, unless you like, I guess you've done your thesis or whatever, and that's cool. But I find it interesting, like almost the stigma that comes with not having a degree or something like that. It, like people don't take you seriously. And I think it also reflects back into how parents kind of treat their kids as if like, you know, pushing their kids into higher education from elementary school almost, which I don't necessarily think is healthy.
I also think, because I've encountered this recently where I've been feeling like, you know, I feel like I need to be at a certain place right now. When, if you really think about it, like we've been on track for most of our lives. Like in school, you go to the next grade, right? You go to this grade, you do that, you graduate, you go into this school, you do that, you're on this track. And it's like that encourages you to like really almost mindlessly go through school. You know what I mean? Like not, I think most people, you're not encouraged to really think about your direction. It's just like, this is next. So when you're finally done.
Yeah, it's so short-term thinking. Even
Yeah,
though
people are like, I have to
long-term.
do the masters, and then they get out and they're like, well, now what? You know what I mean? So I feel like it's good to take this time to strategize.
That's exactly what Kanye said in College Dropout. He was like, then you get your masters, then you get your master's, then you get your master's.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, I think school can definitely be like, it's like a mental crutch that you can lean on, that like as long as you're kind of advancing through the grades, you can, like, the world says that you're doing okay, you know? But then like as soon as you exit school, it feels like then you're already not doing okay. It's like it becomes like, because there's no set path, it's like, oh, you don't have a job already. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're not this far, and you kind of make all these, you have the expectations of others, but also all these like extra expectations you put on yourself when you're kind of, you all of a sudden have to make your own goals and stuff like that, which I think that might be more on the creative side possibly. But I was wondering, Jadelle, do you have any like experience? Like what's the experience of getting out of business school and kind of being left in the world now to like kind of decide your path from there?
Oh, well, it was kind of hard at first because part of me knew like I was gonna go back to the place I interned at last year, but the other part was like, oh shit, like what if like because of the panoramic I can't go back? Like what the hell do I do? Like it took a point where like I graduated in May and I just started in September, and it took because like they were on a big hiring freeze for a hot minute. So like they weren't hiring anybody, and I was like, oh fuck. Like, what if I can't go back? I should start applying, yada yada yada, X, Y, and Z. And like, I thought I was gonna be like, damn, I'm gonna be homeless forever. But then, thankfully, like after a lot of back and forth, like interviews here and there with the people that did work there, I was able to go back. But being put in the past to decide for myself, it's still a little hard. Like adulting is kind of weird. Um, it's no longer like going to East Side Dining, getting food at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's now like Sometimes I gotta watch my coin. Not sometimes, but like now I gotta watch my coin like expeditiously
Yeah.
because
Yo,
like it's the real world now, and I'm like, damn, I kind of miss going to Eastside Dining at 2 o'clock in the morning and getting food, bro, because that shit was lit. Because like at that point, like you give no care in the world. I was in Bumblefuck Long Island living my best life, but now I'm here. It's a panoramic, and like people gotta like monitor their expenses and shit.
Long Island heads are gonna come for you.
I let them.
Yeah, I want to actually like ask the same question to Julian. Like, what was your experience like when you were coming out of college? I mean, obviously, we also had the whole panorama to deal with, but yeah, what was your
I'm
experience?
so weak. We've consistently said that throughout the whole podcast.
Yeah, what was your experience graduating and coming into the panty?
It's more expectation. Like, this is the part that really trips me up, right? Is the fact that I know that times are hard for a lot of people, especially right now, right? Like intellectually, I know that. Like, I know that it's harder to get work. I know that a lot of people are in different positions than they thought they were going to be in. But even still, I find that I'm more pressured to feel like I need to succeed right now. Probably because I've been quarantined. You know what I mean? Because they're like, well, what else are you going to do but work? Which I don't think is like the most healthy way to think all the time. But that's just something I've noticed. I would say that there are certain things that we can do as artists. Like a lot of, both of us actually in business too, like we can work remotely, but it's still not exactly the same. Like that doesn't account for people's mental state and the state of people's just, well-being in general. So it's weird. Like I feel like I've actually been, as opposed to taking this time to take a break, I feel like I've been like working really hard. And sometimes it's like working hard in a good way, and sometimes it's overworking myself. Yeah.
And I feel like working from home, it just allows you to work more because like you're technically already at work, so why not work? Like
Right.
sometimes, even though I'd be like cutting ass on like everybody in the chat for working at 166, I'm like I see myself logging into my email or going on my work laptop at 7 o'clock. I'm like, dude, they're like, I'm not getting paid more for this. There's really no point. But I feel like because we work from home, it's just we just have like so much more accessibility to work from home. Like it's just so easy now to just work. And because because of that, I don't think it's good. Like I don't want to be like obsessed with work to a point where like it consumes majority of my day, or like I'm thinking about it, or I'm going on my work laptop in odd hours of the day, because that's definitely not my journey.
Yeah, I've been trying to set my hours. I'm like 11 to 7. That's it. And sometimes it's not, it's hard to like put yourself on a schedule like that because like what Jadel said, like what else are you going to do? Like you're surrounded by the stuff. Like in my room, right? Because I make physical work. A lot of people do digital art, so it might be easier to kind of like close the laptop folder. But when I wake up in the morning, it's literally the first thing I see is like an unfinished painting. You know what I mean? So it's really funny to think about like the effects of when you don't like, I don't really have a school to go and like leave work in. So I don't have a studio. So
Yeah.
You can't like separate your work and life. It's just the same thing now, which is kind of rough.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I feel like in this time when you're actually working from home, like the workplace just becomes home. Like they become kind of interchangeable. And with that, like for like even when I work, I work mostly digitally, but that means like anytime I like open my computer, I'm gonna watch YouTube. Like I also see like it's right next to my Cintiq, and I'm like, yo, should I be watching YouTube right now, or should I just be fine? Like, or like, should I be like looking something up, or like, am I when I'm sending an email, like the work is like always there? And I think that something can be said for separating the workplace and your time, like your place where you can play, I think is definitely like very important, like mentally.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Because like at the end, like, because one thing you don't want is like a bad mental space to be associated with your home, which, and because of that, and which is only the case because you work there. Because like that's one thing you don't want. Because next thing you know, like you're triggered in your own home because it's where you work.
Yeah,
Right.
and you have nowhere to like escape to.
Exactly.
Especially in Panorama.
That's a really
Exactly.
good point. Like I will literally wake up and I'll see my desk, and like if I really think about how I feel when I first open my eyes in the morning, it's not all good. You know what I mean? Because you're looking at it and you're like, damn, look what I could be doing. You know what I mean? To the point where sometimes, like, I don't know if y'all have done this before, but like I will like get up in the morning and I'll be working, and then I won't have a meal till like 4 or 5 because
that's the Cameron special.
Mm.
That's the Cameron special, bro.
It's not good. I'm trying to not do that all the time. But there was a good, like, even this past week, like I was doing that almost every day. It was like, well, you know, this isn't good. But I see now why it happens, you know.
It's definitely a problem with staying up late, I think, because you know, if you stay up till 2 a.m., right? If you're getting 8 hours, that you're waking up at 10 minimum.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, you know, I'll just wait for lunch, you know, because you don't want to eat lunch stuff early in the day, whatever it is, and then you forget, and then for some reason your hunger doesn't spike, and then it's 5, and you're like, I am a zombie. I need food.
Mm-hmm.
Yo,
Yeah,
I feel
for
that.
sure. Yeah, I was actually gonna switch the conversation a bit, and as I said earlier, we all went to high school together at Edward R. Murrow High School in Brooklyn. You already know the vibes.
Yes,
What's up,
sir.
Brooklyn?
But I was wondering to Julian Jadell, like when we were in high school, where did you think that we were gonna end up? Each of us, that is.
Like where did I think you guys would end up, or where did I think I would end up with myself?
All of us. Because I mean, only 3 of us here.
I think
Four of us,
the
but you didn't
expectation
know
I
me.
had in my mind of somebody who is my age now was actually probably pretty unrealistic. But by this age, I was like that same thing of you think that the benchmarkers are going to be automatically set up how they are. So I was like, by 22, I'm going to be completely financially independent. I'm going to have a car. I'm going to be doing all this stuff, and it just didn't happen. And I had to come to reckoning with that and be like, you know, like everyone's journey is different too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think similarly, I thought. I mean, I don't know where I thought I'd be, to be honest. I think my goal, because like I don't like to set long term yeah, I don't like to set like too long term of a goal in case that doesn't happen. Because then my expectations would be high, and then like if I get let down, then it's like I end up in a depressive state or whatever. But so I think like prior to graduating high school, I wanted to be like post college. I wanted to be like in a full time job um with like my own apartment, and only one of those things are happening. So yeah, I just try to set many like short term goals here and there, but like not goals that like 5-10 years down the line. Because of the reason I stated earlier.
Got it. And what do you think? What do you think made the? How do I word this?
I believe
What
in your
have
ability.
What have you learned now that would have changed what you thought we'd have been back then? Does that make sense?
I think so.
I can word it again if you want.
Okay, word it again.
All right. So as we've gotten older, what experiences did you have that shifted where you thought you would go?
Oh. It's a big one. What experiences have that shifted? Like besides the panoramic?
Yeah, I mean, it's like from high school to now. What were like any major experience that shifted how you thought about your journey?
I definitely think having a significant other. Like, because like at that point you're a unit along with somebody else. Like it's not just your individual journey. Like that individual then becomes, well, no. Then like you're grouped with someone else, and like they're like with that you travel as a unit. Um, so I think definitely having a significant other, probably one of the biggest. Yeah, definitely one of the biggest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Julian, how about you?
I don't know. I've been sitting here like staring at my desk trying to think right now.
I would love to see that visual of you just like staring into nothing.
I think I want to come back to that one.
All right,
I want to come back to that one.
I'll answer the question, and maybe by the time I finish to answer the question,
maybe it'll rattle around something.
Yeah, I mean, if not, we can just go to something else we can come back to by the end of the pod.
All right.
But yeah, for an experience for me personally was definitely having the thought that I will eventually not have structure was really big for me. Like I think it might have been sometime in junior year where I realized that like the blanket of school and like the pool in which I recognize how well I'm doing in life and like how I see myself was going to expand drastically as soon as I got out of college. Like, and this is just like in terms of, when you're in school, you compare yourselves kind of to the people around you, to your peers. You're all kind of working together as a unit to graduate. And, and because of that, as long as you're like, if you're failing classes, you might be pretty depressed. But if you're not failing classes, you're probably going to be thinking you're okay. But as soon as you exit school, you're kind of thrown into the deep end. And now it's not just your classmates that you're kind of competing with for jobs. All of a sudden, it's your teachers that you're competing with for jobs. And it's like, you're in the same pool that your parents are in. It's like all of a sudden the stretch of competition and expectations like rapidly expands. So now like, all of a sudden when before you're thinking, oh, how do I get to 12th grade? How do I get to, sophomore year, junior year? Now you're thinking like, how do I get to the point in my career that I would want to be in as if I was like in the position of my professor or someone that's like already 40 or 50, Mm-hmm. And I think dealing with that definitely was the biggest change that I had to kind of cope with and seeing how I'm doing and stuff like that.
I feel that hugely. I think probably for me it might have been just like student debt, because now for a fact that like that leads to expectations about by a certain amount I need to pay this off, right? And so that automatically, in a very literal sense, like makes you less wealthy. You know what I mean?
Biden's been thinking about canceling it.
That would be amazing. I hope that happens. But yeah, like at a certain point, you have to come to terms with like the idea that like, okay, a percentage of the money I make is going to this, so that makes you feel like you need to do more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got
like
you.
Coming to understand that, because in high school, like you get it, you're like, oh yeah, I'll have to pay this off, but by that time I'll already be making all this money, and then you're like, you really only start to think about it. Like for me, it only became super real like maybe junior year of college, and I was like, oh yeah, that's coming up. Like time is ticking.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say that. That's my first sense of like real actual consequences if it doesn't get paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's also really interesting that I feel like we had realizations at somewhat of the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, what are some things that you guys struggle with mentally or career wise today?
Ooh.
I got a list. I literally have a list because I feel like when you I don't know, like sometimes when I have to look at that stuff and I can look at it what I'm insecure about like on paper, it kind of helps me. Like I can mentally check in with myself and be like, okay, how do I feel about this today? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. I don't look at it every day though, because that would drive me crazy. But
It'd probably pull your hair out.
yeah. I guess probably fear that my current situation is permanent. Like I always think that the situation that I'm in right now is going to be how I am forever, and that's what makes me suffer. But in actuality, you know, like it's not. Nothing is permanent. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be in a different place than I am at some point. But because I only have a certain amount of context to compare it to, I'm like, oh, this is what life is. You know?
Yeah. Sure.
I think for me, career wise, is like I don't know how to word this. Como se dice, like trying not to take everything to heart. Like sometimes I see myself like at work, like I would message like my managers. I have two of them, and then they might say something in a way, and I'm just like, oh wait, are they mad? Like, am I gonna get fired? When it's like when like in actuality, it's just like they have a lot of shit on their plate, and like they're like the type to just like send a quick response. So I think just definitely trying not to take everything too seriously, to a point where just like it doesn't leave my head for the day.
Got you.
I feel that.
I'll answer the question as well. I think the thing I most struggle with is probably like managing self expectations. And by that, like sometimes I think that like, oh, like I have to be at a certain place in my career by a certain time. And like if I'm not working towards that in the moment, then I'm kind of like wasting time in a way. And just the feeling of like, you know, if I'm not working, you have that thought of like, oh, you're not working, you suck right now. And which is like which is like not is like it's not true, but if it's like if you believe that you should be at whatever place, then that becomes kind of a reality. And when that becomes a reality, it actually makes it harder to work. So it's like even though the expectation is there to make you work harder, sometimes like I find that my own expectations get in the way of me accomplishing what I actually want to do. But yeah, that's what that is for me. And Colin,
Yes.
I'm gonna pose the same question to you.
Yeah, so I am not necessarily in the same boat as all three of you because I have not traditionally like graduated from school. So largely a lot of what I do, I'm sort of betting on myself. And that's and it's tough. You know, I'll getting to the struggle part, obviously. And it's tough because, you know, every day, you know, I got to get my ass out of bed, go to work, and, you know, come home, make sure like I'm doing notes for a podcast or I'm getting ready for a stream or something. And all that, like, you know, that is all on me. And, you know, it gets hard sometimes because it's like, oh man, you know, it's my day off. I'd really rather not be creating / editing a Spider-Man review video right now. Like that'd be awesome if I wasn't just doing this script. But I don't know. There's something that also pushes me in a way where I'm not necessarily afraid of failing, but I'm afraid that of the feeling after I get if I quit, if that makes sense. You know, not that I necessarily failed, but I maybe didn't put 100% of myself into that. And so that all kind of ties together in a nice little bow, and a nice existential way, when I'm like laying in bed sometimes, where it's like, damn, if I take this off, nothing will necessarily happen, but I'm still going to have to just live with the fact that I did not do that on that day.
Yeah.
And I think that the idea of now sort of stopping detests me more than like the idea of relaxing makes me happy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's very important to relax, obviously. But I'm also worried about getting comfortable. And that's sort of along when I said the existential stuff, that's tied in with that because, I don't want to get comfortable and then one day wake up and be like, happy with this? And that answer be no.
Yeah. I mean, some people do say comfort is like the death of innovation and stuff like that and improvement.
Hey, I mean, that's certainly true with human evolution.
Yeah. But now that we got through some of the harsher shit, I was gonna ask you guys, what do you think that you guys do really well? Like, what do you like? What are your great aspects of yourself that you think that you've honed in?
Yeah, we also got to get going soon, so just
this is gonna be my last question.
Yeah.
Dressing, or putting clothes together or colors together.
I think making relatable art. That's what I would say. I think I think I've gotten better over the years of like honing into the quality that makes people human, if that makes sense. And I don't even know how to put it into words, but I feel like I've been able to translate my thoughts more effectively visually. And I don't know. I think I'm tooting my own horn. Like artistically, I think I'm pretty decent.
I would say that you are a damn good artist. Yes.
That's what's been carrying me through all these conversations that we're talking about is I'm like, even if we're not at the place we necessarily want to be all the time, like I see potential in my work,
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I'm starting to realize the worth of it. And that's like, that helps me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
What about you, Stolo?
I would say it's probably my ability to kind of see the gray area in things. Like, I think that somewhere along the way, I really broke out of the shell of kind of seeing things in black and white. And I think it really helped me understand a lot of people and understand a lot of situations in a way that I hadn't before. It kind of like I spend a lot of my time in my own head, but definitely it let me at least logically and conceptually like understand how people are going through things and why people have opinions the way that they are and like why people say certain things and what they mean under the veil of the words that they're using. And I think that will probably be helpful to me somewhere down the line for sure.
Nice. I definitely agree with that. All right. And before we go, we have a surprise for the listeners and Julian and Jadel. It's time for Cameron's Anime Corner. Woo!
We go
All right,
into the
Cameron.
anime, boy.
So, what's good recently?
All right. So, Jadel, you already know you gotta back me up on this. This shit getting real right quick. All right.
Jujutsu Kaisen is so
Jujutsu Kaisen, you already know what the fuck going on. Yo, tell him, Jay.
It's so, bruh. If y'all not watching Jujutsu Kaisen, you have to stop what you're doing. Stop watching Shokugeki. Stop watching Broken no Hero. Watch Jujutsu Kaisen. It is so motherfucking good. Oh my god, good main character, good antagonist, good side characters, animation, amazing. Watch it.
I gotta completely agree. It's the next thing right now. The animation is on 10. The storyline is on 10. It's gritty. It's got everything you want in a nice action-packed anime coming out today. You can watch it weekly. I think they're already on episode 8 or 9, and it's heat. It's heat.
Bro, I'm not gonna hold you when we link up. I think I need to see episode 1.
You have to.
You got
Episode
to.
1 is crazy.
It actually is amazing. Yeah.
I'm gonna step in, and I'm also gonna give a recommendation. The Great Pretender season 2 coming out today, or it came out today.
Yeah.
Season 1 was really, really, really good. Great writing. Definitely takes you on turns you don't expect. Unless you're one of those assholes who's like, I predicted that. It's like, great, I don't care. Yeah, season 2 out today. Great music, great writing. I don't know much about Japanese voice acting, but it seems pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna be the next thing is Great Pretender. Season 2 came out today, 3 p.m. on Netflix. Honestly, some of the most beautiful background art I've ever seen. Just absolutely gorgeous. They have different locations, so you might see where you at, you know. Hint, hint. You might see where you live. But yeah, it's great. I think that if you guys just check out episode 1, you will definitely be hooked. It is one of like the best first arcs of anime that I've seen in recent years, for sure. And I actually want to give, for the third one, I want to give a throwback shout out to Samurai Champloo.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Of course. Of course.
Yo,
course.
Julian, tell him about Samurai Champloo.
Goated. They can do no wrong. Absolutely beautiful. What else? What can I say? I can't even say anything bad about it.
The soundtrack. Bro,
Yeah.
The soundtrack is amazing.
Facts.
Yeah.
Writing, storytelling,
It's a good
good characters.
It's a pretty good intersection of cultures.
Oh yeah. Also, if you like knew Jabez on that track, unfortunately passed away, but some great work in the soundtrack of that show. And honestly, it came out like was it like 2003 or something like that. It came out a long ass time ago in animation.
Past on.
Still
Stop.
But see, you know why? This is all I need to say to convince you that it was a good anime. It aired on Adult Swim.
Mhm.
Like,
They don't
That's the
100%.
seal of approval, bro.
They don't miss
Wow.
when it comes to anime.
Mhm. And very similar to the vibe of Cowboy Bebop,
100%. Yes, sir.
which is the goated anime. The
Go.
goated.
Facts.
Go.
Truly.
Oh, one last one that Cameron put me onto the other day. Almost done with season 1. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Pretty good.
Yo,
You guys
don't-
like
The title is nuts.
the title is crazy.
The title is crazy.
Bro, you just gotta
Very
start watching.
similar vibe to I Was Reincarnated as a Slime. Just as good. Yes, sir.
All right.
I gotta agree. But
I think that's it for the episode. Yeah, you guys got anything else?
yeah, I just wanted to kind of have a recap on stuff that we talked about today and talk to the viewers a little bit. And I just want to say, like, we talked about some things that were like some things that were really happy and like lighthearted, like anime and stuff like that. We also did talk about some more gritty things like our struggles and some of the struggles we have in our career and personally. And I think that a lot of the time in social media these days, people don't necessarily show the struggles that they're going through, whether that be like in personal social medias or business social medias. Like a lot of the time we only show the best of ourselves to the world. And I think that kind of negatively impacts a lot of people, whether they be, especially adolescents, but older people as well, because you feel like you have to also be like always positive all the time, or like maybe why aren't I as positive as these people coming out? So I think that if you guys got any sense of catharsis to seeing some of our struggles and also the kind of duality of the positive and negatives of the life that we're having to live through in this panorama right now, I hope you can see both views and kind of feel good about your day.
Word.
Nah, he's spitting right now.
Spitting, right? This nigga's spitting.
Stolo doesn't lie. All right, y'all. You got anything to shout out before we get out of here?
My Instagram is at snakebone_. That is
fancy.
Animal bone like the skeleton _. That's it. That's pretty much the only place I'm on social.
And Julian, do you have any plans for the future that you would like to say on the pod? Because once you speak it on the pod, you got to make it reality. That's the rule.
Yeah, I got a T-shirt coming out for the holidays.
Oh yes, sir.
Yes,
get that good Christmas gift.
Yeah. I wanna have that done within the next couple of weeks. So look out for that. You'll be able to stay up to date with that on my Instagram. But aside from that, I have a collaboration with a brand called Part Cell. And I'm going to be putting out a postcard for donations with them. I don't remember the exact organization, so I don't want to say yet, but that'll happen in December. So look out for that too.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We moving up.
Yep.
All right. And Jadel, anything you want to shout out?
Shawty. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on the ground. First name, JEADELLE. Yeah, Shawty.
J-Del, baby.
My nigga, influencer. Don't hold him back, bro.
I'm not even an influencer. He's gassing it.
Give him some love, bro.
Mm-hmm.
His fashion is on point. See, like, get some inspiration. That's what it's all for.
Exactly.
And Jadel, any future plans that you want to shout out on the pod to make reality?
Future plans. I'm making another reel soon.
Yes,
so
sir.
Now I have to make the reel.
Now you got to do it. You said it on the pod. You got to do it.
I know.
That's true. That's the power of words, bro. I was like, what do I say? 'Cause I got to really hold myself accountable to it. So is it real?
No, I have to do it.
Yeah. That's what I like. That's what I like about the pod is like you put it out there, people listen to it. Now you got to do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be asking.
Hey, you know what? You know what I'm gonna manifest right now? That tonight at 9 p.m., Jadel and I get them PS5s.
Oh, facts.
Put that out into the world, please.
Put it out into the world, man. Put it out into the world.
Bring down upon us the glory of all PlayStation and Sony, please, Lord, please.
I'm putting my hands in the air like I'm feeding a spirit bomb.
Oh, for
Lord,
sure.
please, give me some of your energy.
Everybody give me energy.
If you're listening to that energy. It might be a little bit late, but just do it too. Just do it when you hear it.
Yeah, it's in spirit.
You're gonna manifest.
Exactly. You might get a PS5 yourself. That's all I'm trying to say.
Facts.
But yeah, you guys, you can follow me at stoic_lotus. I am going to be working on some designs that I will hopefully turn into some t-shirts soon.
Yes,
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a manifesto. You're going to see me just keep posting designs on Instagram until I get there. You feel me?
I got you.
That's the vibe. Colin?
All right, y'all. This has been your latest episode of the Plan C podcast. I want to thank Julian and Jadel for showing up and being on our 1-year anniversary podcast. Woohoo! Shout out to y'all.
Oh, word.
And again, follow their socials. They make much better content than we do, I promise. And you know, if you are listening on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. If I get enough subscribers, I'll be let out of the basement, but that's just what they tell me. I don't know. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. And, you know, y'all have a good evening. Am I right?
Oh, for sure. And one last thing. If you like these type of conversations, please let us know. If you want to get involved, please hit us up. This might be something that we might be trying to do more frequently if you guys enjoy listening to that. So give us your feedback if you can.
Yes. All right, y'all. This has been the Plan C podcast. See you at the next one.
Peace.
Peace.